Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up video. It is Friday. I hope you've all had a really wonderful week, and of course we have a big story to talk about today. I don't think I went live yesterday, so it's been a few days since I have done a live chat, and I'll wait obviously a few moments until people start showing up here in the chat room. Do make sure you say hi, and if you're watching on catch up, any links that I do share, I'm not sure if I am going to or not, but any that I do share, of course I will post in the description box so you can follow along afterwards. Unless you've been living under a rock, in the last so many hours, ITV has dropped a snippet of their upcoming documentary, which I will tell you at the top of the video so that you know. It's going to air this Sunday, or rather broadcast this Sunday at 9 p.m. on ITV. I don't know how you can watch it around the world. I don't know if it's going to be aired in other countries or what channel. But in the UK, all I know is, I can confirm is that it will broadcast this Sunday at 9 p.m. on ITV. And in the snippet, it's a 1 minute, 1 minute 18, I think, snippet, clip, extraction from the video. And of course they have posted this obviously to drum up some interest in the upcoming documentary, but I do believe that they have probably plucked the most explosive part of the whole documentary, which is of course Meghan kind of admitting that she's not okay, and that is kind of explosive. It's real, but it's explosive. And we're going to be talking about that. So before I move on, I want to see who is in the chat room, who's got notifications. You should all get one because I haven't posted more than 3 videos. So I'm hoping people are going to get one. 143 watching, so yes, notifications are indeed going out. So if you go to ITV on Twitter, I do believe they've posted it there. And you can definitely find it in, newspaper articles. Newspaper articles have included the clip too. You probably already watched it. I know Alicia has, because she said, I cried watching Meghan's interview. Yes, I mean, it almost looked like she was going to cry too. But we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm just seeing everyone coming in. Sean says you can watch the documentary in the States October the 23rd on ABC. I'm going to trust you that information is correct. So don't come at me if it's not. But yes, Sean is saying October the 23rd on ABC. Do go and check so that you're not just disappointed in case they change times or anything like that. Elizabeth says, if Meghan is not okay, then why don't they retire from public life? Well, that obviously is a question some people will ask, but I think the simple answer for it is to question why she's not okay and the reason why she's not okay. And I think it's obviously relating to the pressure. She talks in the interview about it being pressure from being a new mum, and then obviously all afterwards. And it's almost like you shouldn't have to have that pressure, and obviously all of the media stuff that's going on, which of course they are taking legal action against at the moment. So if you think about all of that and you take that out of the equation, or rather put it in the equation, I should say, then you probably should kind of think that, well, that shouldn't be there. She shouldn't be made to feel that way. So therefore, it's not a question of retiring from public life. It's more what's caused her to feel vulnerable, what's caused her to be upset. Do you get what I'm on about? I don't know if I explained that very well, but yes, it's all the stuff that's going on that shouldn't, rather than this isn't kind of, yes, other royals have had stick and flack in the past, but for Meghan, I think Meghan and Harry most definitely have pretty much come out and said that they believe that a lot of the attacks that they are getting is because of racism, and bullying as well. That's another thing they have mentioned. They mentioned bullying in one of Harry's press statements. So of course, nobody should be suffering from racism, and nobody should be suffering from bullying. So, I don't think it's a question of should they retire from public life because they can't accept being bullied and they can't accept, having racial abuse hurled at them. So no, those are things that they shouldn't have to accept. Meghan shouldn't have to accept bullying. Neither should Harry or Archie. And as a family unit, they shouldn't have to accept racism either. So that's kind of what I think about that, I think. Just Me says we just saw the clip online. I think there was another broadcast question. Hang on. I'm just scooting up because it flicked all the way down to the bottom. Hang on, just a second. Right. Oh, Soma says, yes, ABC Wednesday night in the States. Okay. I'm going to scoot down a little bit, but Natasha says, it saddens me that grown adults feel the need to bully this woman. We can't expect children to stop bullying when grown adults continue to do so. Point, I think, there. There we go. So the general consensus is ABC Wednesday night at 9 p.m, unless anything changes. Christine says it sounds a bit like postpartum depression, postnatal depression, as we might say in the UK. Well, then again, you have to think what's caused her to be feeling vulnerable, upset with everything, and most new moms don't have all the stuff that Meghan had to deal with little bit pre Archie and obviously post Archie. So yes, I would kind of agree. It could be a little bit of that, but it's been compounded by the external factors that have gone into play as well. Just Me says, of course she's overwhelmed, newly married, new mom, new royal life. She's not a superhero, but a human indeed. Jackie J says, I saw it. I felt so bad for her. There we go. Nikeshi Amaze says, hi Elliot, I'm not surprised that Meghan may not be okay. The harassment has been too much. And Miriam says she has been continually lied on and the liars don't want her to be okay. Yolanda has confirmed it is correct on the ABC network. There we go. Elizabeth says, amazing how this documentary is timed to coincide with the Pakistan tour. I don't think ITV has anything to do... Well, Meghan and Harry don't have anything to do with when ITV has scheduled this. Now, I did listen to a news clip here in the UK, similar to what you're saying, and they did say, that there's an unwritten rule in the royal family that, when one couple or one individual is on a major royal tour, the others, try to keep low key and try to, not upstage them or not do anything too dramatic or drastic, to take the limelight away from this tour. And I have to say, traditionally that probably has been the case. But as we know from, where was it when Harry went to, was it Denmark or Amsterdam or somewhere like that? There was a shortage of royal reporters and they didn't know where to go. I think it was when Charles and Camilla were on tour as well. And there wasn't enough to go round. And I think the whole system's going to have to change because there are now there are more working royals now than I think there have been in a very, very, very long time. And they're all doing fabulous, amazing work. None of it is more important than anyone else's. A little visit to, a charity tea garden, can have a lot of impact just as much as something else. So I think they're all just going to have to get over it, basically. I mean, the royal family and the media, because you can't just stop working because someone's on a foreign tour or anything like that. So I would say that in terms of the press, they need to hire more reporters, more photographers. The royal family themselves, as I've said on many of occasions, need to start putting out more of their own things, more videos, more photos that they take. There needs to be more reporters, and it doesn't matter if they're working in the same time as a royal tour. It's got to be done. You can't just stop everyone else from doing what they're doing just because someone's on a foreign tour. So I do think that things need to change a little bit there. But no, I don't. Going back to the question, I don't think that Harry and Meghan had anything to do with the timing of this. That this documentary would have been filmed, in advance. I don't know how far Meghan's portion was filmed in advance, but it will have been filmed in advance and edited ready. The date would have been set, obviously, for this Sunday. And of course, it's ITV's decision, not Harry and Meghan's, to try and drum up promotion for this documentary. And, well, hey, what a way to drum up promotion than to release, an explosive clip like that. So no, I don't think you can blame Harry and Meghan for the timing of this. It's all ITV, I'm afraid. I'm going to scoot down a little bit. Bad says it's sad that people think it's okay to bully someone, that these so-called human beings can think that any kind of bullying. Meghan didn't marry the reporter. No, indeed. Hang on. I'm just scooting down again. In fact, I'm going to scoot all the way down to the bottom, so I'm so sorry if I've missed any really important comments. Flossmog Payne says, I hope Fergie has had a chat with Meghan. She would know about public pillory. She would be a good one to talk to, actually. I mean, in terms of, we all know that Sarah has faced, all the stuff that she's faced. Although, obviously, a lot of it she's kind of brought on herself, I have to say. But at least, she has been through the media mangle, shall we say. And in terms of offering advice about how to just get on with it, she would be a good one. However, I do think that, we don't know who Meghan spoke to in the royal family. That we must point that out. She may have spoken to Sarah. She may have had advice from whoever in the royal family. But I do think that she has handled all the stuff that she's faced with dignity. I mean, I would say that she has been very dignified in how she's handled it. And of course, they waited until when they could do something to do something in terms of the legal action. However, we don't know when those cases are going to be brought. It might not even be next year. It could be 2021. I've heard talk about 2021 before anything actually happens with those cases. So we could be in for a long wait in terms of those. But now I was having a discussion with myself and the moderators on the channel about would Meghan have known about that direction of questioning in advance to the interview? And some people, some of the moderators thought no, and I don't know. I am going to get into my own personal opinion. I think that the palace would have known what line of questioning would have been in there, because otherwise it would have been fairly, impertinent and rude to have just hit Meghan with extremely personal questions like that. Now, of course, we haven't seen the whole documentary, so we don't know if Meghan herself brought up the issue and then obviously the interviewer kind of went with it. We don't know. Obviously we need to see the documentary in the entirety and kind of see almost, did it come from Meghan, did it come from the reporter? But I'm thinking it may have come from the reporter. But these sorts of really personal things are usually in terms of lines of questioning are usually broached with the palace prior to. So would Meghan have known that this level of questioning was coming up? Possibly, I would say so. And some people are saying, is it an opportune moment to talk about this in terms of in relation to those court cases? Simple answer, I don't know. The only people that know that are Meghan and Harry themselves. But I certainly think that in terms of almost kind of explaining a little bit more about why they've taken the action that they've taken, it does do that. It does kind of explain a little bit more on a human level rather than just a written statement, because obviously, as we know, we have seen just a written statement from Harry explaining it, and we all know that words on a piece of paper can be taken very literally. They don't often in a statement like that emit any kind of real, you do, okay, you did get emotion from Harry's statement, but when you add in facial features, facial expressions, and you can read someone's face, it kind of backs it up more. So, you know, you could see the pain in Meghan's face. You could see the vulnerability. Um, and those expressions kind of added a new layer to that statement. And to me, it kind of backs up the statement. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about that. It would be very interesting. Um, I'm going to scoot up a little bit from the bottom and see. So, Flosmog Payne says, to think this was all started by the Markles. So sad that they loaded the bait onto the hook for the media and social media trolls. Katie says, I think she absolutely knew what kind of questions would be asked. It's typical practice in terms of if it's anything I mean, usually the royals, might say, this, this, and this we don't want to be asked about, and then obviously the interviewers won't factor in those elements. So I do think that Meghan would have known about this line of questioning. In other words, I think she was ready to talk about it. I think she'd suffered long enough in silence, and I think it could be it could be planned that obviously they released the statement about the legal action first, and then, like I said, this is sort of a more kind of to back that up with a more human element, because obviously you get to actually feel the connection with Meghan and how she's been feeling. So yes, in terms of questioning, my own personal opinion is that I think she would have known about that line of question. It would have been approved, and I think she was ready to talk about it in this kind of a way. But like I say, we don't know. We could watch the documentary, and it could be that Meghan brought it up. We don't know. Until we watch the whole thing, we don't know. Kuka Cookie says, again, Meghan fans are blaming William for not supporting her. Isn't she a strong, independent woman? So why she needs William to defend her? Husband is defending her. I agree. I mean, everyone in the royal family can support each other, which I'm sure they do, behind the scenes. But this isn't, it's not Jerry Springer. We're not on Jerry Springer or Ricky Lake where they all come out and start arguing and, all throwing food everywhere. That would be funny. I mean, that I would pay to watch that. I would pay to watch a Jerry Springer with the royal family. But that's not going to happen. And, we don't see so much. So we don't see what support any member of the royal family give each other behind the scenes. And it's I think you're right. I think Harry has done a fantastic job in doing what he's doing, protecting Meghan. And as he said in his statement, they had to wait a long time to get to the point where they could release those statements. So if they had to wait that long to release those words about themselves, what did we expect William or anyone else to do? If they themselves couldn't say anything until that point in time, what did you want William to do? And like I said, we don't know what they have been doing behind the scenes, supporting. As we know, they do have WhatsApp groups and all the rest of it between themselves. So we don't know, what level of support William and Catherine and all the others have been giving Meghan and Harry, because we don't know. It's personal and private. Son says, she thanks the reporter for asking. Yes, because he did ask, how are you? And sometimes that can be the hardest thing, isn't it? When someone finally asks, how are you? And that can be the moment where you go, I'm not okay. Ugh, and then you cry. It's happened to me before, when someone asks, how are you? And you're really not okay. And it's the first time that someone's actually asked you, are you okay? And then you just, no. And then you I mean, I'm sure you've all had moments like that. And, I think that was a moment there too. But like I say, whether it was, pre-planned, I don't think the conversational style of it was pre-planned, I have to say. I think that was all natural. But I think in terms of the direction of questioning, I think she would have known that she'd have been asked about, turmoil in the press, all the stuff that's going on in the press. I think she would have been ready to have spoken about it. I think the wording of it, the conversation that ensued from that line of question, I think was entirely natural, completely natural. It certainly wasn't, it wasn't scripted. It most definitely wasn't. To me, that looked incredibly genuine, incredibly natural. But I do think she would have known that, I think she'd have okayed the fact that she'd have been asked about it. But, I think what we saw was very natural, and of the moment, shall we say. Nefeta Pri says, Kate was criticised, but it was not near as bad as Meghan. Now people praise Catherine like she's perfect, forgetting all the complaints they had about William and Catherine before Meghan. Well, going back to Catherine, I mean, she did get stick, not racial stick, not the level of bullying that we're seeing here, but she did get stick. Then it kind of evaporated over time, and people were just concentrating mainly on what she wore and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Harry and Meghan themselves are, pursuing the press for a narrative, and when the press have a narrative, there's usually a goodie and there's usually a baddie, and obviously we can see which one is which in terms of the press. When stories come out, Catherine's getting all the glowing reports, and Meghan's getting the more damning, the damning reports, narrative that's going on. Like I've said in previous things, what does the old adage go? All the world is a stage and everyone has their parts. And these are parts that haven't been chosen by the royal family. These are parts that have been dished out by the media. And we all know, who is being billed as a villain. And we all know who is being billed as, the heroine. And of course, that's not how it should be. And, most people know that it's just a narrative being put out by the press, and that's, I think, what Harry and Meghan alluded to in Harry's statement, about it's a whole narrative by the press, and we don't know which way that's going to go, because Harry himself said it's a risk. No, he didn't say it's a risk. He said he knows it's not the safe option. That was it. He knows it's not the safe option, but it's the moral one. It's the right option. So I'm glad that they have stood by their guns and that they're going through it, but none of us can tell which way it's going to go. When all of this comes out, how is it going to go? Will it go in Harry and Meghan's favour? Will it not? We don't know. And like Harry said, it's not the safe option. We'll have to wait and see. Nefeta Pri says, Princess Anne. I love Princess Anne comments. Does not like the media to even cover her engagement. She just finished a tour of Japan and there was almost no... I found it so hard to find anything to make a video on. But anyway, I don't think Princess Anne cares terribly too much whether she gets press coverage or not. I think it's her... She just brushes off and is like, right, I'm doing my work and that's that. I've done 50 million engagements before breakfast. Follow that, bees. Yes. Follow that, you bees. And that's pretty much, I think, Princess Anne's attitude, which I don't think is a bad attitude to have. Hayden the King says, there was no shouting at the Queen about Meghan. Yes, I did hear, I read a comment saying that at the state opening of Parliament, somebody shouted into the chamber whilst the Queen was going up the steps, something about Meghan. And no, that did not happen. That was fake. I don't know where that even came from, to be quite honest. Now, Just Me says, I also think the press is more freely critical of Meghan, and maybe we're more cautious with Kate because Catherine may be the Queen someday. Well, don't forget the stage was smaller when Catherine came on the stage. There wasn't really a counterpart. She didn't have a counterpart. She didn't have a yin to her yang, so to speak. So, it was in the press's interest to kind of build Catherine up. Although they did have a little knock at the start, but it was in their interest long term to build her up. Then when Meghan came on the stage, there's a counterpart, someone to play her off against. And I think they very quickly decided, for whatever reason, and obviously we'll park that at Harry's statement. We all know what the statement was alluding to. But for whatever reason, they decided who was going to be the good guy, who was going to be the bad guy, and they've gone with that narrative ever since. That's what they've gone with, and that's the truth, people. Kuka says, why they don't give up their titles, living as a private citizen isn't a solution for all this. No, I definitely not. I don't think anyone should be giving up anything. Udasan says, oh please, Buffalo 666, no other woman married into the royal family ever gone through what Meghan is going through right now. And Elaine says, press aren't unkind to Meghan, just paid trolls to try to control the narrative. And Beverly says, the Harry and Meghan interview will air here in the US this Wednesday. Yes, ABC, 9/9, I think someone said. Mrs. Pilling says, Duchess Meghan is amazing. She should be proud of herself, all the charities she has highlighted in such a short space of time. Yes, she's done amazing work. Totally. Why did I choose a Spencer tiara today? Because I haven't worn it for a while. And you haven't seen down my bottom end. Everything's in a complete mess. I'm living like Steptoe's yard. Google Steptoe's yard and you'll see what I mean. Everything's out of my bedroom and I grabbed the closest one to hand that I think I haven't worn for a while. Becky Ray says, why should they have to give up... I couldn't even find my watch the other day. Becky Ray says, why should they have to give up their titles? They've done nothing wrong. Exactly. Plus Mug Payne says, yes, it's like Di versus Fergie stuff back in the day. Yes, of course, you know, when Fergie came on the scene, Ray of Sunshine, and then they soon turned... They picked who was going to be the good guy, who was going to be the villain, and there you go. Although, obviously, I think, you know, for different reasons, shall we say. Plus Mug Payne's laughing at Steptoe's yard. Google it, Steptoe's yard, and you'll see what I'm living in. Mrs. Pilling says, I can confirm Diana and Fergie went through this back in the day. Yes, those with long memories that were there can confirm this entirely. Now, I've just realised I haven't read any of what Meghan said. I've just been having a good old natter and a good old chit-chat with you. So, let's have a look. Yes, the interview is with Tom Bradby, who is an ITV News at 10 anchor. He asked about the impact of the intense public scrutiny has had on her physical and mental health, and how Harry is being protective of her after what happened to his mother. And she replied, look, any woman, especially when they are pregnant, you're really vulnerable. And so that was made really challenging. And then when you have a newborn, you know, and especially as a woman, it's a lot. So you add this on top of just trying to be a new mum or trying to be a newlywed. It's well, and then I'll scroll down to get the rest of it. It's also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay, but it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes. Tom asked her, and the answer is, would it be fair to say not really okay? As in, it's been really a struggle. And Meghan replied, yes. So there we go. And like I say, I don't know how long this interview was, like, this documentary was filmed over. And I don't know when Meghan's bit was indeed actually filmed. She said, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay, which I think is really sad that not many people have actually asked her if she's okay. But it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes. And there we go. So I'm sure you've all seen the clip. So if you want to know exactly what she said in her own words, do go and watch ITV. It's everywhere. You will find it. If I can find a link to it, I'll put it in the link after. HM the King says, my heart went out to Meghan. None of us have the slightest clue what it's like to be in her shoes. No, we don't. And I think, in a way, we should almost be very glad that we don't. But at the same time, she shouldn't be going through this anyway, quite frankly. Let's have a look what people are saying. Sean says, I do think we'll know a lot more in the interview. These are just snippets of... Yes, exactly. I will totally agree with you and say, hold out to watch the entire complete piece. And then we'll talk about it. I will do... What did I say? What time it aired in the UK? Was it 9 p.m? Was it 9:99? Let's have a look. I'm thinking it's on for an hour. So I will do a live chat on Sunday immediately after that finishes. I will come on and we will talk. We will talk about what was said in the interview. So again, if you don't want any spoilers, if you want to wait until it's aired on ABC, you don't have to watch the video. But if you want to hear me talking about my reaction immediately when it finishes, I will be live. I will do one of these pop-up chats immediately after it finishes. And then you'll get my reaction, my full review of the entire piece. I'll even make notes. How about that? I'll even take time to make notes. I have no idea why people call Meghan and Catherine by their maiden names. Other than that, you know, when, believe it or not, when a lot of people are searching, people do still type Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle in terms of searching for things. Tanja says, I miss public words of support from the royal family to the Sussex family. I mean, I've spoken about that before in terms of, you know, Harry and Meghan being able to speak out for themselves and the timing of that, and also in relation to other members. So if you've missed my comment, watch back. Alicia says, oh no, I've read that one. People are talking amongst themselves. Veronica says, despite the pain Meghan is going through, her test of character is proving strong at the same time. To give up so much of her life to be in the UK and face all of this bullying, that's a strong woman. Indeed, indeed. But like I say, you know, she has been strong, but we don't know behind the scenes how much she's broke down. You know, it's from that little snippet, it looks like actually it's affected her a lot more than what people thought that it was. And that's taking me back to my earlier point about Harry's statement being lots of words. Yes, we got emotion from it, but when you actually see Meghan talking about it in her own words with her own facial expressions, you actually get a true sense of what she's actually been going through. And she hasn't been okay. She hasn't been okay. It has been tough. All the things with her father, the royal feud, the racism, the bullying, the narratives, the pitting against each other, you know. And also, I would say that, you know, there are blogs, there are YouTube channels that are still themselves trying to push, you know, these narratives of pitting royal against royal. And, you know, that is not helping the situation in any way, shape, or form. Which is why my channel will never, ever, ever be a one-sided channel. I will never, ever just be someone who talks about this royal, who talks about that royal, that won't even contemplate speaking about this royal or that royal because this royal does this or that royal does that. No, that helps nobody. And judging by Meghan's face in that interview, does it look like Meghan wants that? Does it look like Meghan wants any more animosity between anything? I mean, by the way, I don't think there is any personal animosity between the royals, but does she want that added on top of everything else that she's getting? No. So you have to ask yourself, you know, why bother? Why bother pitting royal against royal? It's silly. It's stupid. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And that's why you will never ever find me doing that on this channel. I just won't. Don't do it, people. Just don't do it. Mrs. Pilling says, if Duchess Meghan would have had supportive family close by like Duchess Catherine, the transition into royal life would have been much easier. Meghan was pretty much kind of shoved in at the deep end. Catherine did have a much longer transition. Obviously, she was girlfriend to William a long time, so she got to see, you know, and speak to him about things in advance, and there was a gradual build-up. Meghan, even before marriage, was, you know, pushed into, you know, engagements. I think she was ready. You know, she came into it at a different position to what Catherine did. Two very different people, two very different backgrounds, two very different, you know, careers prior to. And I think Meghan was ready for it in terms of the work. But certainly, I don't think anything could have prepared her for what the media were going to do. But in terms of the work, I think Meghan was ready. I think she was ready to just, you know, in a way, I think she was oven ready. She was an oven ready royal. That's what I would coin her as. She was an oven ready royal. But like I say, nobody could have prepared her for that level of attention. Jenna P says, that's why I became one of your Patreons, because of the respect you show. Thank you. I'm glad some people are realising that now. That it's not good to just be, you know, a one-sided outlet. It doesn't do anyone any favours, and I don't think it's what Meghan needs either. DHT says, their hand-holding and back-rubbing means so much more now all the haters should feel... Yes, because, you know, that support, you know, Harry and Meghan being touchy-feely, that's support for each other, because obviously they know what each other are going through. Sean says, I wish Doria really was here for her daughter. Meghan is nobody but Harry Archie in the UK. She needs... Well, we don't know, obviously, like I've said before, what support they're getting behind the scenes, because not everything is played out in public. You know, Doria is only a phone call away, but, you know, I've always said I think Doria would be very welcome here in the UK, but, you know, she is her own woman, she is Doria, and she has her own life. So if she were to come over, I would want that to be because of her choosing, rather than being forced to because her daughter is being bullied or suffering from racial abuse. It should, you know, if Doria does decide to resettle, it should be because she wants to do it for all the right reasons, not, you know, like I say, not because Meghan's being bullied or suffering at the hands of the press. That's kind of maybe not the right reasons to come. It's a reason to come, but it's perhaps not how it should be. Shrona, thank you. Yes, she was already doing some of that work. Like I said, I think she was already an oven-ready royal. Shall I coin that phrase? Esleen says she was already... Yeah, oh, I read that one. Yes, I'm sure Meghan and Doria Skype. I'm sure they do indeed. Now, I'm going to have to go now. I'm sorry to have to cut this. Well, I haven't cut it short, but I'm going to have to go because I have a patrons only chat at 9 p.m. So I've got literally 10 minutes to get ready. So I will be going live on Patreon. So if you are one of my Patreons, I'll be going live in 10 minutes there. You will find the link in the Patreon, not the Patreon Facebook group. I don't post that anymore there. In the actual Patreon site or app, go into there and check your messages, and I will have sent the link to you. So do go and check that out. There we go. Oh, Patreon Lincoln says check my Twitter. I'm going there. Before I pop off, I will go. Right. Okay. No, I have stopped posting the link in the Facebook group because some people... well, I'll explain on Patreon to the patrons, but I don't need to say that here. But no, I will only ever post a Patreon link in a direct message to the applicable patrons on the Patreon page. So there we go. So they need to check their messages. Right, I'm going to go now. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share it on social media, and also do hit that bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye. And Meghan, a message from me, stay strong, girl, you are loved.